okay, well, what's the biggest problem here? Well, selling these trips is illegal unless you become a travel agency. And I got stubborn. I said, okay, selling them is the problem. They're free. And so I wrote up the press release. I had the website changed. I called my web developer. I'm like, you need to do this. He's like, what?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to All Beer Inside. Today we are in downtown Ottawa, and joining me is Brad of Brew Donkey Tours.
Good to have you.
Thank you very much for hosting us today.
You bet.
I'm looking forward to hearing about Brew Donkey and everything that's involved. For those who don't know, Brew Donkey is a Ottawa-based beer bus tour with add-ons.
Yep.
But what's the story of Brew Donkey?
So the historical story, that origin story, Spider-Man style, I guess, would be...
radioactive bus with beer on it.
It would be great. Was walking through Victoria and Vancouver, personally enjoying all the different breweries they had. Saw many different breweries on that walk. 9 breweries in Victoria in 2 days. Each one of them had a tour for me to be able to go on. And I walked from every brewery to every brewery. Riding the ferry back to Vancouver, did a seawall walk, kind of just to clear my mind and think. And I was thinking, why don't people do this in Ottawa? We've got 12 breweries, and in that thinking, I realized we have 12 breweries, but none of them are within walking distance. Even though I would have liked to walk to a bunch of breweries, at that point, the 12 breweries were spread out across the city. Nobody could have walked between even 2 of them without a very good pair of shoes and probably a camping gear. So made the decision that I was going to come back to Ottawa and try to help people get beer that they liked. I was drinking a lot of craft beer at the time, and I was, by the fact that I went to 9 breweries in 2 days in Victoria. So I came back and thought, I've got to create this business idea. Got home, started the work in kind of July, August. It was going to be a beer tour service and a home delivery service for craft beer, because at that point the LCBOs and the beer store in Ontario were pretty restrictive, and breweries weren't doing home delivery. And it was 2013, so the model opened. And we called it Brew Donkey. There's a humorous story behind that, which takes about 15 minutes and is rather funny. But we called it Brew Donkey because we didn't want it to be Ottawa Craft Beer Tours and Ottawa Craft Beer Delivery. We just wanted it to be one thing that represented both, so Brew Donkey fit. So why are we not called Ottawa Craft Beer Tours? It's because Brew Donkey fit 2 models, but now 9 years later, it's really hard to change a brand. That being said, I do own OttawaCraftBeerTours.ca.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I kind of imagine you'd already invested with merch and the name, the recognition, so just changing would be absurd when you think about it.
Absolutely.
Brew Donkey is pretty unique, but when you think about it, it's the donkey's job to kind of carry everything. It sounds like you guys are doing that. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's pretty much, I guess, kind of, I'm assuming you threw a lot at the wall. You're like, this sounds too basic, this sounds not so fun.
Our graphic designer, when I gave him Brew Donkey as the name and told him what I wanted, he said, have you thought of Brew Mule? And I said, I had, but Brew Mule is horrible to say. And to say Brew Mule for the next years of my Brew Mule, Brew Mule is the iteration on that is horrible. My mouth would have had to grow a new tongue in there just to get Brew Mule out without being frustrated.
Yeah, it's pretty unique, and like I said, I mean, we were saying before that you guys are your own company. You're not part of some giant conglomerate type thing, which is kind of there's not a lot in Canada that I'm aware of where it's an independent business, more or less.
In Ottawa, there's no other producers of beer tours. We just recently got an amazing company across the river called Adventure Uruguay. They're just starting out, and they're doing a Gatineau beer tour, which is pretty amazing. But in Ottawa, there's nothing else, and hasn't been for the 9 years that we've been in operation. Across Canada, though, there's a couple other companies that are running. Canada Craft Connections, they're a good group doing tours in all of the Canadian cities, mostly on the West Coast, and they're moving into Ontario now. But just like the craft beer community was in 2013, I truly believe that there is no reason to fight your competitors or even play nasty with competitors.
Yeah.
The craft beer community in 2013 and 2014 and 15 was very, very much a community and camaraderie. And anytime I hear of a new business in Ontario or when Advento Uduwe opened up, I sent them a message saying, welcome to the beer community.
Yeah.
And, we're really happy about more, because more will mean more people want to come to the city to explore, just like you guys from Montreal.
Yeah, I mean, when my craft beer journey started there in Montreal at the Mondial, 15 to 18 years ago now. I mean, I've been drinking craft beer a long time, and somebody's like, hey, a friend who just moved out to Ottawa, he's like, dude, you should come here and try some craft beer. And so I'd literally go on Google and have to use my TomTom GPS at the time, because I have no idea where I'm going downtown Ottawa. And it's like, okay. And so I would put on Notepad the exact addresses, and then I would add everything in a map to I'm just like, guys like yourself just make my life so much easier.
Yeah.
So.
And so I guess that brings us to what we kind of do here.
Yeah.
You guys are in for a bit of a treat today, and because I usually like to have these chats with a beer, and we could talk about your route that you're going on quickly.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome. So today you're going to Bicycle Craft Brewery, and I've got some of the beer from them. Their Frequency, which is one of their selections that's in the LCBO, one of their flagship beers. It's not their Velocipede was the first one they got into the LCBO, but the Frequency is the one that I think is their best seller right now. So I'll give you guys some sound clips for. There you go.
Yeah.
And we got these Brew Donkey glasses, which I'm going to send you guys home with
that's
as well.
More than generous.
Absolutely. We also brought out some Sunsplit because it's delicious, and it normally resides on this tour.
Cheers. As you do on the show. Toast. Yeah, this is their APA, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's this solid, malty with that right amount of hops for me.
Yeah. So today's tour is our Yeast End Tour, Y-East End Tour, and it's going to visit 3 breweries in the East End. Now, when we started, this is kind of a conversation on how we create our trips somewhat.
Okay.
So when we started, we had 12 breweries in 2013. And so we had the Yeast End and the Brewers East, which went out to Beau's. And then we had West Ferments and Western Libations. And then we had downtown city beers. And that was it. We had 5 different routes. Yeah. And that collected all of the different breweries that we had. Now, 40 breweries between Embrun and Perth, which is the radius that we operate in. Yeah. That's 40 different breweries. So we have the Yeast End Tour, but we'll change the different breweries that are in the East End that we visit. So today's is Bicycle Craft Brewery, Broadhead Brewing Company, and Stray Dog Brewing Company. And with that route, we can change up the East End to have maybe Dominion City and Orleans Brewing Company and North of Seven Distillery or Vimy Brewing Company or Shiloh. All of them are in the East now, plus a couple others I might have forgotten. Yeah. And that was the original format of how we were going to create our routes, which was curated directionally. And I guess, so that's the trip you're taking today.
Because I remember when I heard of you guys, and I never really thought I don't know about a brew bus tour interview. That sounds weird to me, but that was when we first kind of started the show. And then we were at Stray Dog, and we saw your bus pull up with the lights and the decorations and everything, which we'll talk about after. It's like, oh yeah, let's interview these guys. This is another local company that, we might not be huge as a show, but still, we're getting eyeballs on you for people who might come from Toronto and have never done a brew bus tour in Ottawa. Oh crap, Brew Donkey's right there.
Yeah, out of Toronto or Montreal.
Yeah, and the website's full of all sorts of trips. Yeah. Especially coming up now, when this episode is out, you'll have your Halloween stuff coming up. The all about the brews.
All about the booze. B-O-O''Z. And actually, by the time this comes out, that trip will already be sold out. There's only 3 tickets left on our October 29th. All about the booze. Wow. At time of filming, and it's the popular one because it's the weekend of Halloween when you don't have to send your kids out that same night or the next day. So.
And I'm sure you get a lot of, because the world of podcasting is covered by the paranormal and serial killers. So I'm sure you get some people who are like, ooh, haunted stuff.
Yeah, it is great. That trip is amazing. It's part of our series where we started to try to collaborate with other businesses. 2015 from the beginning, I always built this company not as a tourist product as much as a local tourist product.
Yeah.
So in Ottawa, we've got Orleans, Canada, Barhaven, Stittsville, all the different neighborhoods and regions. Our products are great for tourists that are coming to town, but they are best for the locals. Because there is 40, you have no idea where they all are.
Yeah.
So you come on the east one, you come on the west one, you come on the western libations, you'll head over to the some of our other trips. And so in that kind of design and dream, I thought, once they've finished all the breweries, how do I keep them coming back? Or how do I get new people to find out we exist? Well, maybe you're a fan of a haunted experience and you hear that there's a beer tour with a haunted experience.
Yeah.
And then you find out Brew Donkey exists. So that was what we had originally kind of imagined, of both supporting local breweries and telling more people that we exist through products that are marketing tools. Yeah. So the All About the Booze, though, has been successful for about 4 years. You go to a brewery and a cider company. The cider company is at the haunted farm. Yeah. And then you get RIP passes instead of general entry. And the RIP passes mean when there's 200 people lining up to get onto the hayride, you go right to the front.
That's fantastic.
Which is important because we're only there for 2 hours.
Yeah. When you'd first started Brew Donkey and you were going to these breweries and like, we're starting a brew tour, I'm assuming most of them were very welcoming. I mean, I do find a lot of people, and most people that we've dealt with in the craft beer industry have been very welcoming and opening when they have the time available. And clearly that's a big thing, is when you have the time available.
When I got back from that trip out to Victoria and Vancouver, I was pretty jacked, pretty excited. I went to a couple of breweries here and there and had that conversation. And if I was lucky and there was an owner there, and I would chat with them. But in that summer, July, I went to literally the plaza that we can see there on the front lawn of City Hall, because we're up here on the 10th floor and you can see that plaza. There was a craft beer festival happening there, the Ottawa Craft Beer Fest a la 2013. And I had just got off a shift at a catering company where I was working, and I went around to as many breweries as I could. And in that moment of going around, I got a couple of busy people responses from some breweries. Well, I had walked around during a busy beer festival with a lineup behind me, and I wanted to have a conversation about business. Like, that's not something you're supposed to do. So I figured out that, maybe just a light introduction to who I was and the business cards that I'd printed very quickly down at the Staples. And it all was going mildly okay until I got to the booth of Kitchissippi Beer Company and Big Rig. And in that moment, the two owners kind of walked out with me and said, "This is an amazing idea. Let's do this. And we're going to introduce you to all of our colleagues here. Let's go." And then they just walked me around to the booths, and I was walking then around with owners of breweries telling me how amazing this concept was. And I was like, well, thank you. Anyway, it was great. After that, people understood what I was doing, and it was a good stroke of luck. But after that, I had to literally drive to every single brewery and convince them. There was 12, so it was a little easier. But once we told them what we wanted to do with the beer tour side, very interested. We asked them what they wanted. We didn't tell them what we would do for them. And there was some things that they didn't want. They didn't want 40 people attending their brewery with the whole focus of drinking, because they'd had buses show up like that. So we said, all right, we'll limit it to 25, which is the limit on most of our tours. We want a tour guide with them that's going to keep them on time and in control and make sure you're timely. Don't show up an hour late. And another thing is, we want to talk to people. And that's been our format ever since we started. So we bring small-ish intimate groups, not 40, even though the capacity of all of our buses is 40. We make sure that there's a time for them to speak to you, and we make sure that they're the highlight, and respected.
That's what I like hearing, is like, we're focusing on the customers, but as well, we're getting you to these breweries maybe you've never been to before, because let's be honest, not everybody's going to Orleans most of the time. Everybody's coming downtown.
When you come downtown, our pickups are downtown. We're right in the core. At that point, you don't have to worry. We're going to drive you to Orleans, even though you might not have put that on your bucket list. But if you're coming to Ottawa for craft beer, Orleans should be on your bucket list, and so should Canada, because Orleans in the East End is where the IPAs live. there are some great breweries downtown here that are doing amazing beers, but the IPAs are concentrating. It's almost like hops float downhill and Orleans is a little bit downhill. The malty beers are primarily on the east and some amazing sours and funks, but the east is where the IPAs are living. But there is some good stuff in the west.
I've seen it at where you've had it on too as well. You tour a Red Blacks game for those who aren't aware of this. The Red Blacks are a CFL, Canadian Football League team. How did that come about? Like you're dealing with, I mean, I'm assuming you're not dealing with Randy Ambrosi, the commissioner of the CFL, but you're dealing with the president or whoever of the Red Blacks organization and TD Place.
So that one is an interesting one. It's really fell into our laps. The history, and I'll be quick about it because you got to send you on a beer tour soon. A bachelor party on one of our public tours of like 6 or 8 guys. I had heard that they had a good time and they were asking about the owner while I was at the office, which was across from their final destination. So I came over and chatted with them, and it was an amazing gentleman who at that time was the sales manager at the Sens Center at CTC at that time. I think it was the Canadian. It was not the Canadian Tire Center, but we chatted. We got to kind of having a beer together, and we stayed in contact on LinkedIn. And he left that organization and went over to OSEG, which is the Ottawa Sport and Entertainment Group, which manages TD Place and the Red Blacks, and at that time also the Fury.
Yeah, the Furies. Okay. Yeah.
Which is the football club that's there, not sport football, but like European football.
Yeah.
So he and I had a couple of beers over the year prior to that, and they were looking to get more people interested in the football club that they were trying to promote, which was the Fury, and we definitely had a market of people that could be interested in football as well as beer, and they were trying to be more crafty at the stadium. So they put together a program which I couldn't say no to, which was they were trying to animate the East End zone. So they put together a beer party on the field, which included our bus backing onto the field and being in the end zone on the east side for the whole game.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, yes, I will do that. And so we filled the bus, all 3 of them sold out, and it was a great success. And after that, the Fury left eventually, and now it's the Atletico, but we haven't had a relationship with them yet because then we moved on to the Red Blacks. And last year, as soon as the pandemic had cleared the first time, cleared the first time, we relaunched with the Red Blacks, and that was a beautiful collaboration. All those sold out as well, and this year's been a good success as well. But we did every game instead of just 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And so we've seen quite a bit of different games, and some are more popular than others.
Yeah.
But I think by the point that this airs, they'll all be done by that point.
I'll have to come out here with my Alouettes jersey on one day and get booed off the bus because
No. If you're the people, that was the one that somehow had the most tourists on it last year. It was I think 2/3 of the bus were from Ottawa and 1/3 was from Montreal.
Yeah.
Because they were trying to figure out how to get to the game, and we showed up in the search, and they were like, a beer tour and then go to the game, and I don't have to pay for parking, and it'll pick me up right near where my hotel is anyway.
Yeah.
Bingo. So good light bulb there.
No, that's like I'm surprised when I tell local Montrealers, I'm like, man, the Ottawa beer scene. And they're like, what? I'm like, how do you not? If it's 2 hours away, you don't never drink and drive. So always find yourself a designated driver or somebody who's willing to drink in moderation and make sure, or plenty of hotels, plenty of Airbnbs, even though I'm no longer trying to support them as much personally, but there's stuff you can rent. And just there's no reason to be behind the wheel when you're drinking.
So the trips themselves are designed under that guise as well, because self-touring is easy for everybody that's not driving. I recently got my bus license because there's a bus driver shortage and included in the labor shortage that's happening right now. And I finally got it July, and the first week that I had it, the company that we use for our buses, this is a good time to talk about our bus, they said, we got a driver shortage. One of the buses we were going to rent for that weekend just didn't have a bus for it. So He said, "You got your license, right, Brett?" And they just handed me the keys. I'm like, "What? Okay, here we go."
Insurance?
No, I'm insured. They insured me. Yeah. Everything's good. So our buses, all of them that we send our tours out, are all rentals.
Yeah.
We have a beautiful branded bus with our logo on the side and tables on the interior. They've got live edge tables and booth seating and a selfie booth in the back. That's a wrapped and reconstructed bus that's owned by the company that we deal with.
Okay.
So we deal with the one company that's primarily a school bus company, and then we use their buses on weekends for charters. So those school buses, they're education colored, and this is an educational experience, so it works.
Yeah.
And so when we have 5 buses out on one day, I've got 1 Brew Donkey bus and 4 of the education colored yellow buses. And that's how we've been operating for the 9 years.
Yeah.
I didn't have buses to worry about during the pandemic. I didn't have insurance to keep up. I just rented when I needed them.
Yeah.
So for the 11 months of no revenue, there was 11 months of no maintenance, and there was 11 months of no insurance, and I also didn't think about my bus.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have one to worry about. So convenient that way.
Outside of kind of like, obviously the pandemics and stuff causing everybody issues, even before you started, when the germination of Brew Donkey was happening, it's like, do you know who you had to approach when it came to the city council or government agencies? And clearly LCBOs and beer stores are another thing to deal with. Like, how did that journey, like, was that a pain in the butt journey more so than, like, did you ever have the questions like, why am I even doing this?
I'll leave the one about AGCO aside, because even though that was at the beginning the most confusing one, we no longer operate that business, and it is happily gone for good reason. It was very complex, a lot of red tape. But the requirements to start a bus tour company, one of the reasons we use that rental system is because the transportation laws around public transportation are pretty complex and onerous, for good reason, because you are transporting the public. And in my mind, I thought, okay, if I want to transport under 9 people, I could get a limo license or a taxi license or something along those lines, and then stay away from the public vehicles operating license. And I was looking at all these rules and regulations that I would have to be applying for and adhere to, and none of them were exciting to me. And I enjoyed the idea of starting this company. So I didn't want to start a company that I knew I would hate doing, like all of these requirements. So that's why I started renting. So then I can focus on being an entertainment company that gets you to breweries in a timely, educational manner. Yeah, boom, that's it. So then I leave all the rest to them. So, but one thing that, even though we looked into it, was TICO, the Travel Industry Council of Ontario. Ontario has an overseeing body that protects consumers from potential fraud or being left high and dry if a travel agency is bankrupt. Say Sunwing went bankrupt as an example. It hasn't, as far as I know. And all those guests are stranded down in Mexico. Well, TICO would step in to get them home. But they looked at our trip design in 2015, and they believed that we were supposed to be a travel agency with all of the regulations and with all of the registrations. We believed we were exempt. Long story short, we told them, no, we're not going to become one because we believe we are exempt. They said, that's too bad, become one. I said, are you sure? They said, we talked about it in the office, and you are. And I'm like,
now give us money.
Now give us money. I'm like, so we get your judge, jury, and executioner all in one, and I have nobody to complain to. Hard couple of nights sleeping, and then I was thinking about, okay, well, what's the biggest problem here? Well, selling these trips is illegal unless you become a travel agency. And I got stubborn. I said, okay, selling them is the problem. They're free. And so I wrote up the press release. I had the website changed. I called my web developer. I'm like, you need to do this. He's like, what? I'm like, just do it, okay? And I wrote the press release, and I also started an Indiegogo campaign that was like, hey, if you really want to support us, by the way, we're going through some red tape, send us some money on Indiegogo. Yeah. Well, the press release got some traction. We definitely got some calls from some government bodies asking us, hold on, you're doing what? It's now free? I'm like, well, I didn't want to stop.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say like, okay, well, while we deal with this, we're not operating, because then all the momentum from 2.5 years at that point would have been cut off. So we continued the momentum. The momentum picked up for finding out who we were, which was important. And I didn't want to stop bringing people to these breweries. Our whole goal was to get people to breweries, and we still did that, even though I did it for no money. The end result, though, was a lot of people found out about us, and TICO and the governing body in the government that oversees TICO let TICO know and let me know that we're considering making some changes. Let's find a workaround temporarily, and we worked with them at TICO and at the Ministry of Government and Consumer Services, which is an Ontario overseeing body, and we waited. And then the following July, from April, the law was in place that allowed us to operate without any requirements.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that was the biggest stumbling block. That was the biggest red tape that we have ever dealt with. Aside from getting a letter from Health Canada for doing a cannabis tour.
Yeah.
Which I didn't want to fight. I didn't want to fight that one. I'm like, there's one cannabis destination in Ottawa. I'm not fighting it for one.
Yeah, no. It's not like you're in Vancouver, or from what I've seen, like I was in the Waterloo region, like around Easter, and it's just shops everywhere. I'm like, if I were into this, I'd be so happy right now.
I didn't want to bring people to a shop.
Yeah.
Like, I don't bring people to the LCBO or the beer store. I wanted to bring them to where they make it.
Yeah.
And we were. And that was bad.
Yeah, because then you can't bring them to a marijuana growth field anywhere that, I don't even know what the closest one is.
We had one in Smiths Falls, Tweed, and they were doing a great job on the tourism side. And we were bringing a bus. We wanted to bring buses to them, and that was not considered compliant with Health Canada's Cannabis Act.
Oh, at least right now. I mean, things are constantly changing.
I hope it's changing. Yeah, but I'm not fighting that, so I'm not worried.
Well, Brew Donkey, it's not like you're.
I literally bought the domain name Ganja Mule in because that is much easier to say than Brew Mule. Yeah. And so I bought it in 2016, expecting that it was on everybody's mind whether it was legal, and we created a whole. My web developer again was like, "You want me to do what?" Yeah. So we skinned my website and hosted it exactly the same, but in green. But it said Ganja Mule instead of Brew Donkey. And when anywhere you clicked, we created the tour types, everything like Mary Jane's Walk and a bunch of other thing that for the tour types. And whenever they clicked anywhere, it went to our Brew Donkey website and said, "Haha, got you," because we released it on April Fools. And if you're interested in taking a tour with us, here's $4.20 off.
Love it. You do have some very unique promotions. I mean, like when I went on the website, I saw, Beers and Pile Drivers. You're teaming up with the local independent federation C4. Yep. I'm a big, huge wrestling fan. Yeah. So now I'm like, I have to come back for that.
We have been partnering with them since, I think, 2018. The Hops and Elbow Drops tour is one of those collaborations where we try to help the people that love things in town do the things they want to do, but with something they already are going to do beforehand anyway, which is a great pre-drink. So we're helping them get the local craft breweries beforehand. We feed them, we get their ticket, and there's reserved seating. So it's like a premium version of attending that event that's already $25, $30. So that one, we worked with them since 2018, as I said, and every year we just send them a message and like, give us 3 of your shows, and we'll wrap a tour around it. And Mark at C4 has been really good to us, and his I think they're happy to see us, especially when we bring 25 people.
Yeah, I mean, kind of wrapping around that too, like. Wrestlers are, sports entertainers, as they're called in other places, are kind of celebrities. Have you ever had somebody famous or a celebrity on one of your tours?
Because we're a beer tour company, we have a beer tour bus that is a wonderful space to entertain people on because it's got these tables. One of our tour partners, Bose, All Natural Brewing Company, they had asked us whether they could rent the bus for a private event. And the private event was to launch to all the bars in town the Tom Green Summer Stout. And so Tom Green Summer Stout, they were going to bring cases of it around to every bar and say, "Hey, here's a case of the Tom Green Summer Stout." But their sales reps could have did that. But what they did, as I'm sure you can see it coming, is they put Tom Green on the bus.
That's amazing.
And Tom Green came in and handed them a case of a beer with his face on it, and that was the trip. So Tom Green was on the bus and having a good time, enjoying the experience of getting. Effectively and timely shuttled. We didn't provide any tours in this one. It was just a private charter, which we almost never do. And the end result was I had to go home early. I chose to go home early because Tom Green he's a very fun guy. And last thing I remember is him free pouring tequila into my mouth at a local restaurant. But I went home. I said, I'm out. I can't keep up. I'm out. This is not beer anymore. I'd lost my traction.
That's like, as a Canadian, Tom Green's up there. Just everybody knows kind of as like, he moves to the States. He has Freddie Got Finger. He marries Drew Barrymore. Divorce. Still kind of doing movies, a podcast. Literally chainsawed like a late night host guest. It's just his stories, the stuff he did to his parents' house. It's.
He also free poured tequila into the owner of Brew Donkey's mouth, which is that's like chainsawing a desk and the two.
Oh, you can always be like, what celebrity poured liquor down your throat? Because I've got Tom Green. I've only gotten to meet a couple of celebrities real quick when I was doing extra work when I was 18, 19. I didn't really get to hang out and drink with Nick Cage while they were filming Snake Eyes in the old Montreal Forum. It was go away from the celebrity, okay. Where you're like, I'm getting pretty sauced with Tom Green. So that's a story and a half. Yeah. Besides kind of, I guess, the private ones that are great books, was there any one that just somewhere you randomly showed up and just made that tour memorable?
We've had both memorable tours from a positive perspective, and
let's talk about those.
And then memorable from a negative perspective. We are in an alcohol tourism industry, so, and one of them surprised me in a good way. Obviously, we're a progressive company. We like supporting breweries. We like supporting good breweries. We like supporting good people. It's about the community that is craft beer. And in the last 8 months, obviously, a lot of things have been brought to light about the craft beer industry for the betterment of the industry.
Yes.
And we've always had it in the forefront of our mind to be respectful of the breweries. Since we started, there's always been a policy of making sure that people are well taken care of at the breweries. We are VIPs when you go there, but you are not the most important person there. And so you always need to make sure that you're being good to other people at these breweries. And recently, we had a group show up, a bachelor party. Love bachelor parties; they're great to be had. And they were all wearing some amazing artistic representations of the female body, and it was not going to fly on our tour. And I was stressing out. There were 13 out of 20 people on the tour, and I really didn't want them to go out with this on the bus. So I walked up with a handful of Sharpies, and I'm like, guys, you're gonna have. They're like, it's okay. We brought T-shirts. We thought this might happen. And so then they all changed their shirts and put on their regular T-shirts and put them away. And we had the tour. So that was both could have been the worst and was the best.
Yeah, the fact that they knew what they were doing, having had to organize a bachelor party before, and the bachelor at the time was like, I don't care about strip clubs. I'd be like, okay, but we're still going to dress you up like a jackass. And, we had a picture of one of his drunkest pictures ever where he's like drunk and he's like, and we had to put that on his chest and wrote, sorry, ladies, I'm taken. And then dragged him around downtown Montreal, bring him out to the bars, making him do stupid things. But at no point did we want other people to feel unsafe. And that's like the important thing is you want people on your tours to feel like they're safe. Our
tour guides, the thing that they always need to remember is that no guest is more important than any other guest. It's about the full group. Somebody having a good time, being loud and enjoying themselves is different than somebody infringing on the enjoyment of other people. And we don't want that. So that's one of their caveats. If somebody's having a good time that is infringing on the enjoyment of other people's enjoyment, then we've got to step in. And they do their absolute best. But beyond that, some of our some of our most amazing experiences have been some of these amazing collabs that we've got to do. We partnered with Crashed Ice and the Red Bull Rallycross.
Yeah.
Like the team from Red Bull Rallycross reserved a seat at the Aviation Museum where the Rallycross was happening. We were in touch with their management team. We also did an amazing collaboration with the Briar and Bus Beer Briar, where we got exclusive seats to the Briar included in a ticket, and all those sold out there really well. We've had some incredibly unsuccessful collaborations that were still amazing. Like we had our board game and beer tour combo, which was Hop on Board. Also, our names extremely punny all the time. Do everything we can. Sip, axe, and relax. I can't actually say sit back and relax anymore. I say sip, axe, and relax. We've got the Hops and Elbow Drops, which you mentioned. We have a new one called Final Draft, which is going to 2 breweries and then watching a drunken cinema experience. It's like The Room and Rocky Horror Picture Show, but they've turned many movies into participatory movies, and they have a liquor license at the actual the cinema, and that's at the end of November. And
you're gonna make me broke and have to keep coming back. And I mean, the cinema experience alone, as somebody who loves, I've seen The Room with my videographer Phil. We went to a live reading of The Room, followed by watching The Room.
I know.
I was out in Cleveland. I saw The Disaster Artist, which is based on The Room, and then the cinema next door had The Room. I've unfortunately never done the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I know that's a huge thing in Montreal.
Yeah. I went to see as a test to see if this was going to work, and we did I'm blanking on it now. Oh, The Wedding Singer with Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
And every time there was a kiss on screen, you had to cheer and applause. Yeah. So this one that we're going to be seeing, we don't know what the film is yet, but November 25th. Another collab we're going to do is Brewed to You Live, which is a concert, as well as 2 breweries and a meal beforehand, and then reserved seating at the concert. So, bringing in the live music thing, because live music in Ottawa and everywhere around the world's obviously seen some hits, and obviously we want to support them just like we would support, our CFL friends.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So what's next / new tours?
So, thanks for asking. What we're doing next. We've got. Like I said earlier, we've always focused on local tourism. Helping locals explore. At this point, I think after 9 years, we're ready to ask what the tourism industry needs from us. And so with the help of some federal grants, we have been able to try to grow inbound tourism specifically for us in the craft beer tourism sector. So there are tour buses that go through Montreal, they go through Quebec City, they go through Ottawa, and these tour buses are places where people are given a snapshot of what the city is about. And we want to make sure that those people exploring our city who are of age have the ability to find out that Ottawa is an amazing craft beer city. There are 5 to 7 breweries which are within a very short drive of our downtown historical center, and we believe we can make a great experience for them, so we're starting to work on that now.
Is there any kind of difficulty of how throwing in certain breweries, it's like, okay, well maybe Dominion City doesn't belong with this brewery, or maybe this brewery doesn't belong with this brewery on the tour? Like, how long is it that you're sitting down planning these things out and trying to get a person's flavor palette, getting the people who show up, a guy who showed up, he just drinks Budweiser, is like, what's this craft beer stuff? Well, try this beer tour.
We definitely have collections on our website, because we can tag tours that are easy drinking or IPA heavy or malty, and then you can also sort them based on with activities or on the Quebec side or whichever the trips are. But when it comes to the breweries, we usually create the routes based on our destination's requirements, because the destinations may not have availability. So I might have said this is going to be a great route for our trip, but one of them said we have our own special event happening, and the other one said we're actually closed at 7 that night for a special event. And so then we just kind of shift. But I believe that any brewery can be a great location for touring, as long as they do the 3 things that we ask them to, which is give guests an amazing behind-the-scenes look at their brewery, give them samples, and a conversation with somebody at that brewery. And that's really important to us, because if you walk in there and you get good beer and they let you look in the back room, but you don't talk to anybody, something was missing. If they hardly give you any beer, they talk to you in the back room, and that's not it either. So those three pieces are what we ask from any of our brewery partner destinations. And that's how we've been doing it from the beginning. So as long as those three are there, yeah. But we have made sure, as an example, Small Pony, great beer, but if Small Pony was one of two destinations on a beer tour that was, say, going to CFL, I may very well get some feedback that I hate sour beers. I just wanted some light, easy drinking beer. So we will curate that way.
Okay. Yeah. For sure. So there's seems like there's pretty significant planning behind every kind of tour that gets brought out
that's
there,
the other thing. We don't just create, like I'd said, we don't create one route and then just put it on every day.
Yeah.
We create the routes specifically around the what's happening in the community. So I just finished putting all of December, and we're putting up January and February right now. Leading into the Christmas season, we need to make sure January and February are pretty full, because people get excited about what they're going to buy for Christmas gifts around this time. So
I meant to ask this earlier. The logo, the kind of the bottle, and then you also have the growler with the wheels.
Yeah.
Who came up with that concept?
So, we have a local designer that at a certain point lived in Montreal and is back here in Ottawa, Luke Norad. I gave him the name Brew Donkey. So the word mark, which you can see here, is a custom logo font development that he created for us.
Okay, cool.
And also obviously has the hop tail of the donkey that's hanging out. Then with the beer tour and delivery business, this was our beer to you business, and this was the one that's on
the logo.
Our glass here is the you to beer. So there's the you to brew and brew to you.
Yeah.
And this was the bus one, and this was the bringing your home delivery to you. This is an older shirt, and it's the only long sleeve I have, and it's a bit chilly today. So,
yeah. Unfortunately, we're having a regular October here.
Yeah, I'm going to get a little bit of this before we take off.
We are about to wrap up there,
So this is Sunsplit of Dominion City, which is now into the LCBO, and they've got a pretty tasty beverage, and they're one of our best destinations for. During 2019, they took 3 tours a weekend, almost every weekend. And that's why I say they're best, because I love all of my destinations equally, like a father. I love them all. But Dominion City really worked that muscle in 2019.
Awesome. Cheers. You toast. Well, Brad, thank you very much for speaking with us today. And, we'll be hopping on the bus and adding some footage to that for those who want to somewhat experience what the bus tour looks like. I've honestly got no other questions for you. Thank you very much for hosting us today. I appreciate anybody who's willing to take out their time to speak with us about their business when it comes to supporting local businesses. That's what we're about, and that's what you seem very much about too, which is why we wanted to speak to you. For those who are looking for Brew Donkey, where can they find you online and on social media?
You can find us at www.brewdonkey.ca, or if you just search Brew Donkey, you'll find us. If you search Brew Monkey, you will not find us, although you probably will if you search it on TripAdvisor, because somehow, strangely,
I guarantee,
TripAdvisor thinks donkey and monkey are the same word, so it says that we feature monkeys on our tours. But you can
gotta add one with the Ottawa Zoo.
Yeah,
there you go.
If there was a zoo, I wish. So we definitely, we're on the internet. We're also on Instagram and Facebook, where you can find us, and obviously if they've got any questions, they can reach out at hello@brewdonkey.ca. We answer all questions as soon as we can. And if you're ever downtown and you're looking to explore craft beer and you don't have time for a tour because you were not running one, just email us and we'll help you find out what you can do in the downtown core.
Amazing.
Thank you, Carp.
Thank you very much. All that's going to be in the show notes. As for us, allbeerinside.com is the website. At allbeerinside on all social media. And as I say at the end of all episodes, drink craft, not crap.
Thanks.
Thank you. Cheers. All right, so now we're talking with Kate, our guide of this day's Brew Donkey Tour. So, Kate, what attracted you to become a guide for Brew Donkey?
Well, I'm a big craft beer lover in general, and a consumer myself. And then I happen to have a friend who was one of the main Brew Donkey employees for many years. His name's Alexi. He still is a casual with us, but has since moved on to more, regular employment structures. But Alexi was a pal, and I got talking to him one day and mentioned that I was looking for casual work, and he hooked me up with Brad. And then it's just a great brand, and it's a really fun way to spend, some extra time and make a little money and enjoy something that I love. So yeah, it's good.
And how long have you been with Brew Donkey now?
Since I think it was late summer, early fall of 2019. Okay. But there's a couple of years in there that barely count, right?
Yeah, there's some major worldwide event. I can't quite remember. I know you all couldn't go out and enjoy beer, and we all had to get home deliveries. So out of your kind of beer adventures as out of Ottawa, if you could do another tour by yourself and kind of make your own tour to go somewhere else to do a brew tour, where would it be in the world?
So I'm from an area. I'm from Dufferin County, which is in more southern Ontario. Central Ontario is probably the description, but Dufferin County is about an hour and a half northwest of Toronto. And we've had some very exciting evolutions in brew making and also food, local food, organic produce, etc., restaurants. So I would do a tour there, and I would visit. There's a handful of breweries out that way, Sonnin Hill being one of them, Good Lot being one of my personal favorites of all time, Good Lot Brewing. And then we also have Badlands Brewing, which is very interesting in the Caledon area. So I'd do a little 3-stop tour to those 3 breweries from my hometown, 15 minutes from where I grew up and where I've lived all my life. So,
any personal, your own personal Instagram stuff, if you're looking for followers, where could people find you for your beer adventures?
Yeah, I don't actually Instagram all that much about my beer adventures. So I'd mostly say follow at Brew Donkey OTT, because that's where you're going to find a lot of great content from my employers, who I really support and love. And the Greater Ottawa area brewing industry is great. My personal Instagram will not feed you any kind of relevant brew knowledge. I just drink the beer. I don't really plug for it, other than my home breweries that I mentioned there. Those are ones that I'd rep for sure.
Friend of the show, Chris from Broadhead, specifically said, "Science is hard, and that's why I drink it." So,
I love that. Yeah, I was just talking to one of our guests about, that delicate balance between turning something that you love to consume into something that you do or monetize in any real way. And I'm still very hard on the love to consume side. So yeah, just love local producers. The smaller, the better. And Stray Dog's a great example.
And that's what we're about, is supporting local. So thank you very much, Kate. Thank you for being our guide today and informing those of us who didn't know. Now, whenever you were asking questions on the guide, I'm like, I already know everything. I'm going to shut up. So, but anybody who's looking for knowledge, definitely check out some Brew Donkey Tour, especially Montreal, Toronto. You're not that far, so come and check them out. Exactly. Amazing. Thank you very much, Kate.